Hi guys, today we are learning how to solve percent proportions. To solve percent proportion problems, we will first set up a percent proportion box. If we're solving a word problem, we can also write a unit fraction. Down below we see our proportion with our two fraction bars and our equal sign in between. The first ratio in our proportion will be the part to the whole. The part is the number with the word is, and the whole is the number with the word of. Then the second ratio in our proportion is the percent out of 100. 100 will always be present in our percent proportions because percent means out of 100. Now let's solve a few guided practice problems together. In the first problem, it says, what is 12% of 80? The what is what we're looking for. We're looking for the part. Before I start writing in numbers in my proportion, I'm going to set up my proportion with my two fraction bars and my equal sign. And I'm also going to add the 100 for the percent, because that will always stay the same. We want to know what is. We're not sure of that part. And then it says 12%, so we'll put that on the right, of 180. 80 is next to the word of, so that represents our whole. So now we have set up our proportion and we can cross multiply and solve. We have 100 times x, and that equals 80 times 12. 80 times 12 is 960. So then we would need to divide on both sides to get x by itself. We're going to divide by 100. I can cross out a 0 from my 960 and a 0 from my 100. And now we're dividing 96 divided by 10. When we divide 96 divided by 10, we get x equals 9 6/10. Our second question says 5% of what is 34? We are looking for the whole because we're not sure of what amount. We'll set up our proportion with our 100 on the right. 5%, it gives us the percent, so we'll plug that in. It says is 34, so we know the part, and we're looking for of what amount. So we're not sure of that whole. So we've set up our proportion, and now we can cross multiply. We'll multiply 5 times x, and that equals 34 times 100, which is 3,400. Next, we'll divide by 5 on both sides to get x by itself. When we divide 3,400 by 5, we get 680. So x equals 680. In our third question, we see it says 62 is, So we know our part, 40% of what number? We're not sure of our whole amount. So we'll set up our proportion. We're looking for the whole amount, so we're not sure what that is. We'll put in our 100 for the percent. It says 62 is, that's our part, and 40%. So we've set up our proportion. Next we will cross multiply to solve. 40 times x is equal to 62 times 100, which is 6,200. We'll divide on both sides by 40 to get x by itself. I can cross out a 0 for the 40 and a 0 for 6,200. And now we're dividing 4 into 620. When we do, we get x equals 155. Our last problem on this page says, what percent of 40 is 8? So this time we're looking for our percent. That's what's not given to us. We know the whole of 40 and we know the part is 8. So we'll set up our proportion. Our part is 8, our whole is 40. And we're not sure of the percent. We'll plug our 100 in. So now we can cross multiply. 40 times x is equal to 8 times 100, which is 800. We'll divide by 40 on both sides to get x by itself. I can cross out a 0 in the 800 and a 0 in the 40. And 4 can go into 80 20 times, so x equals 20%. Now let's solve a few word problems together. Question 1 says a mini piano keyboard has 16 black keys and 24 white keys. What percent of the keys are white? So the question lets us know what we're looking for. We're looking for the percent, and we want the percent of the keys that are white. So we'll set up a unit fraction. White keys will go in our numerator, and total keys, or all keys, will go in our denominator. Then we'll set up our proportion. We'll put the 100 in there for the percent. From the question, we know that we're looking for the percent, so that will be x. We know there are 24 white keys, and then we need to figure out how many total keys there are. So I can add together the 24 white keys and the 16 black keys, and when we do, we get 40 keys. So there are 40 total keys on our piano keyboard. So now we have set up our proportion, and we can cross multiply to solve. 40 times x is equal to 24 times 100, which is 2,400. Next, we can divide on both sides by 40 to get x by itself. I can cross out a 0 in the 2,400 and a 0 in the 40. And 4 divided into 240 is 60%. So x equals 60%. When our answer is a percentage, we want to make sure that we include the percentage sign in our answer. And more specifically, we could say that 60% of the keys are white. Question number 2 says the average American eats 15 slices of pepperoni pizza per month. If the total monthly pizza consumption of the average American is 50 slices, which proportion could be used to find x, the percent of the pizza eaten that is not pepperoni? The word to pay attention to here is the word not, pepperoni. So we know how many slices of pepperoni pizza Americans eat per month, but we're not sure of the amount that are not pepperoni, and that's the percent we want to find. So I know the total of slices the average American eats, and I know how much is pepperoni. If I subtract these two amounts, 35 is left over. So 35 slices of pizza are not pepperoni. For this question, we are just looking for which proportion is set up correctly. So I can eliminate answer choice A because 15 is written as the part. 15 is the amount of pepperoni pizza slices. We were looking for the amount of slices that were not pepperoni. We can eliminate answer choices B and C because we're looking for the percent, and there's already a percent written in the proportion. Answer choice D, we see the 35 slices that are not pepperoni out of the 50 total slices. We're looking for the percent, that's X, and then 100 always stays the same. So answer choice D is the correct answer. Question 3 says Mr. Minato was going on a field trip to visit the zoo with his 7th grade science class. He asked each of his students what their favorite animal was that they saw. If there were 50 students, find the number of students that said a giraffe was their favorite. So I would want to look in the chart at the information given for the giraffe. It gives me a percentage. So I'm going to set up my proportion. I know the percentage, 45%, that said a giraffe was their favorite. Out of 100, the 100 always stays the same. We also know the total number of students. There were 50 total students, and so we're looking for the part. We're looking for the number of students that said that the giraffe was their favorite animal. So we have set up our proportion. Next, we can cross multiply to solve. We have 100x, and that equals 50 times 45. 50 times 45 is 2,250. Next, we will divide by a 100 on both sides to get x by itself. I can cross out a 0 in my 2,250 and a 0 in my 100. And when we divide 225 divided by 10, we get x equals 22 and 5/10 students. We want to make sure that we are including our unit in our answer. Each time we have a word problem. Question 4 says Josephina studied really hard for her math test over percents. When her teacher passed back the test yesterday, she was very excited because she made a 90%. There were 30 total questions on the test. How many questions did Josephina miss? I want to pay close attention to that word miss. Because if she made a 90 on her test, those are all the questions that she got right. So I would want to look for the percentage of questions that she missed so I could find the question amount that she missed. So when we subtract 90 from 100, she missed 10% of the questions. So I want to make sure that 10% is what's included in my proportion. So she missed 10% of the questions out of 100%. There were 30 total questions on the test, and we're looking for the part, the number of questions that she missed. So next we'll cross multiply. 100 times x, and that equals 30 times 10, which is 300. We can divide by 100 on both sides to get x by itself. I can cross out 2 zeros in the 300 and 2 zeros in the 100. And 1 can go into 3 times. So Josephina missed 3 questions. Or 3 questions missed. Question number 5, it says Dallas Morning News took a survey of how many people attend professional sports games. The graph shows the results of the survey. If 400 people were surveyed, how many people said they like to attend professional hockey games? So I'm going to set up a proportion, a percent proportion. I'm going to look at the pie chart, and I see that 27% of the people like to attend professional hockey games. So 27% out of 100%. We know that there were 400 people surveyed, and we're looking for our part, the number of people. So next we can cross multiply. 100 times x equals 27 times 400, which is 10,800. Next, we can divide on both sides by 100 to get x by itself. I can eliminate 2 zeros from 10,800 and 2 zeros from 100. And 1 can go into 108 times. So x equals 108 people. Or 108 people like to attend professional hockey games. Now you will complete 2 independent practices on your own. The first is a pizzazz puzzle, and the second is task cards. Remember to ask for help if you have questions.